Immanuel, God with us. Does that give you courage, hope, peace at this Christmas season that we are upon, in the midst of your watching Christmas movies and building snowmen and drinking eggnog and eating maybe Christmas cake, fruit cake, I don't know. These words, Immanuel, God with us, they were penned by the prophet Isaiah 400 years before Jesus was even born. And he was proclaiming a message of hope that one day Jesus would come. He would, as some scholars and historians say, that Jesus moved into the neighborhood. Well, there was a particular guy named Joseph, and he was really wrestling with what was going on. He was engaged, now she's pregnant, what's happening? Everything is not going the way I thought it would go. And an angel comes to Joseph and says, Joseph, look, this virgin, this woman who will be your wife, Mary, she will give birth to a son, and they will name him Immanuel, which means God is with us. Well, that was a game changer for Joseph. He was on board. He was in. He recognized now, this is the one we've been waiting for. These 400 years, we've been waiting for Jesus, God with us. Now, some of you might be saying, well, everything's going great for me. I'm having a holly jolly Christmas. But some of you, maybe not so much. And there's some things that we go through. We go through valleys, don't we? We go through wilderness moments, and we definitely get our fair share of storms. But can we still say that God is with us even in the midst of valleys? In the wilderness? In storms? Well, there's another guy that wrote a lot of really amazing words, and his name was David. And he wrote something called the Shepherd's Psalm. And in this psalm, Psalms 23, David says these words, even though I walk through the valley of a shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. David understood God is with me, even when I'm walking through the darkest valley. And did you notice, friends, what it says? It doesn't say that he got out of the valley or took a detour a different way, but he walked through the valley. Friends, you're going to walk through some valleys. You're going to go through some days that is hard. And oftentimes we get into these valley moments as soon as we've been on the mountain. We've reached success, we've tasted success, and then all of a sudden, boom, Monday morning hits and we're in the valley. Or a doctor calls. But I want you to know that God is with you, even in the valleys. What about the wilderness? There's a good story of Elijah. He has just taken on a whole bunch of prophets. But this one woman, Jezebel, she puts a death threat out on his life, and he's running for his life, and he ends up in the wilderness. He's all alone. Maybe you've been there. You feel scared. You feel alone. I know for me that oftentimes at Christmas I can kind of drift into the wilderness when I start to think about, my parents, my mom and my dad. They're not with us anymore, and my mom she loved Christmas. Everything about it, just the music. There was always music playing, and my dad, he would decorate. He would just get all these tangled up lights and assortment of colors and decorations, and he would decorate. My parents, they're not with us anymore, and I can drift off into the wilderness. I can kind of be like Elijah and feel alone and scared, and we see this powerful moment that on the mountain called Horeb, which is the mountain of God. God comes to Elijah, and there's this huge earthquake and the wind, and there's fire, but God is not in those things. When normally we would expect that God would be in the big powerful things. But today God needed to come close to Elijah. He needed to whisper. And I want you to know that in those moments when you feel like you're in the wilderness, God will come close to you and He'll whisper, I'm with you. I'm right here. You're not alone. And Elijah recognized in that moment when he heard the whisper of God, he knew God was with him even when he was in the wilderness. How about storms? Oh, storms can come. They can come unexpected, and storms, they can come to all people. Even faithful followers of Jesus, storms can still come. There's a story in the New Testament of Paul. He's about to go and stand before Caesar. He's in his last days, and he gets caught in a storm. He's with a bunch of sailors that he tried to give them advice, and they wouldn't listen to him, and they end up in this storm, and the ship gets destroyed, but every one of the passengers makes it safely to shore. See, in this story, in the storm, God came to Paul, and it actually says that He stood beside him. He reminded him that, Paul, I'm with you, and the ship may be destroyed. Some of the decisions that you make may cause some destruction, but I want you to know that God's initial plan and His hope for you is that you will be saved from the storm. God is with you in the storm. There's a guy, his name is Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Isn't that an amazing name? And he's known for writing poetry, but one of the poems, and it turned into a song, was I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. I see Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I just love saying that name. His wife died tragically from a fire. His son was badly hurt during the Civil War at that time where they were living. And he was writing this poem, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, and he writes this line that it just feels like he's lost all hope. And in despair I bowed my head, and it's God is not with us. It does not feel that God is with us. And then he heard the church bells in the distance, and he heard them again. And he kept listening, and as he listened more and more, it began to remind him. And then he ended this poem, this song, and pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does He sleep. Oh friends, I want you to know that this Christmas and every day after Christmas and the days to come for you, if you find yourself in a valley, like David, you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, or maybe you're like Elijah and you're in the wilderness and you need God to come close to you today. Or you're Paul, you're stuck on this boat with a bunch of guys and you're stuck in a storm. And you're like Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and you got grief and you despair, but you recognize that God is not dead, nor does He sleep. Friends, I want you to know that this Christmas, celebrate with me. Immanuel, God is with us. He has moved into the neighborhood. He wants to move into your neighborhood. He wants to be in your life. He wants to help you with everything that you're going through. But let's be reminded that God is with us, no matter what we're going through. Jesus came, was born, and Immanuel, God is with us.
stand up and wrote along the broken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chance of life, oh, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Despair, I bow my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for here is strong and marks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And I heard the bells on Christmas Day. Christmas Day, and hear the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. On Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men.